All right, people. Here we go. Here's your math assignment for today. Your job's going to be to find the area perimeter of Thor's tiny, cute little home. It's so adorable. So you need to draw out Thor's tiny home just like I did. You need to show all of your thinking. Some of you like to skip ahead and just give me an answer. I want to see your thinking. I want to see how you got to where you got there. You need to find the perimeter, find the area, show all your formulas and equations. Let's turn it around. I'll explain this out a little bit. So, this is Thor's tiny home. You will notice that you are going to have to add some imaginary lines in there. I have given you all the dimensions, some things that you might need to figure out yourself. You've noticed right here, I've put 4 feet with those double lines, and I put double lines here, double lines here. That means all 3 of those lines are 4 feet. I didn't feel like writing 4 feet for all of them. Instead, I put those double lines. You'll notice up here, I put 3 feet and then put a single line for all 3 of those lines. So that means all 3 of those are 3 feet. So you need to first start out by drawing it out exactly like it is on here. I would pause the YouTube video, draw it out exactly like you see it. Okay, so I realized I made a mistake and I forgot to add one in. I'm going to say that this diagonal line right here where I made a triangle is going to be 6 feet. Okay, there you go. So we have this long line on the side here is 11 feet, 4 feet. It's going to be the same for those ones. This diagonal line is 6 feet. This long one here is 8 feet. We got 5 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, and then boom, boom, boom. All those are 3 feet, and we got a little 1-footer up there. So your goal is to stop the video right now and to fill everything in. Try and figure it out yourself. Perimeter and area. Decide where you could add imaginary lines to make everything into nice, neat little rectangles or squares. Or you may realize in this one you're going to have to make a triangle, but you know how to do that. So I want you to focus on trying to do it yourself first. And by doing that, you would pause the video now. Okay. So I hope that most of you tried to figure some of these out on your own, adding imaginary lines somewhere in Thor's tiny home to get nice single rectangles and squares. If not, I will do it with you right now. Which way do I want to go? That's like this. Okay. There we go. Where are some spaces, some spots that I could draw imaginary lines to make rectangles or squares? Well, I could put one right here. I'm going to put a dotted line. That makes this space into a rectangular square. Oh, I'm going to put one right here. I'm also going to put one right here. I'm also going to put one right there. Now I'm going to put a little box here to show that that is a right triangle so that you are able to solve it. So for area, you should be able to now find the area of this box that we made, find the area of this box that we made, this box, this big one, and this triangle. For area, we know that it's length times the width. So you'll have to find length times width, length times width, length times width, length times width. Add them all together. Oh, but then you'll have to do this one. Is it area of a triangle length times width? Almost. If we remember, if we put two of these exact same triangles together, if we added another one right here, then it would be a whole square or a whole rectangle. But we know for a fact that this is not a rectangle. It's a triangle instead. So it's half of length times width. So area of a triangle equals half length times width. So you'd find the length times width and then cut it in half, because this triangle is just half of a rectangle. Okay, so this might be a good time for you to stop now. If you weren't able to go ahead the first time, and now that I've drawn in some of these boxes, maybe you can go ahead now and do it yourself. Pause the video and try to get the area of some of these. Okay, if you haven't done that yet and you're still needing some assistance, then we'll do that together. I'm going to move my screen forward here so that I'm not leaning forward as much. Okay, so let's start with this box here. We know that the length or the width of this box right here is 4. So it's going to be 4, and the width going up, or if we called this width, this would be length then, is also 4, because I put those double lines there. So 4 times 4 equals 16 feet squared. So the area of this box is 16 feet squared. Now we have to do another one. Let's do this one. The width is 1 foot. The length is, oh, but there's no number there, Mr. Wood. But there's this little line. All three of these have little lines, meaning they're all the same, and we know it's 3. So 1 times 3. 1 times 3 is 3 feet squared. Okay? So we've now found out 3 feet squared and 16 feet squared. Let's move on to another one. Well, the width is 4 feet. The length is 3 feet. Let's multiply those together. 4 times 3 equals, 4 times 3 is 12. 12 feet squared. Okay. Which one? Oh, we still have this big space in the middle. We added all these lines. Now, we don't have the exact measurements. We're going to have to do a little bit of problem solving here. Well, let's try and find the length of this line here. It's not the whole thing because we're not including that triangle in there. Well, let's see. We know that this length is 4, and this carries on the same. So I bet you from here to here is going to be 4 feet. So if this whole thing is 8 and this much takes up 4, the leftover, that means this right here is going to be 4 feet. And then from here to here is going to be 4 feet. Broke them in half. Okay, so now we know that the length is 4. Now what's the width? Okay, we're going to have to do some adding together. So look right here. We know that this little one is 1 foot. It's right up there. It's the same. We know that this space down here is 3. We know that this line here, it's the same as the top, which is 4. And it's 5. So let's add those all together. 1 plus 3 is 4. Plus 4 is 8. Plus 5 is 13. So we need to do 4 times 13. Oh boy. Guys, I can't do 4 times 13 right off the back. So here's what I'm doing. Right now you'll see I am definitely going to use the calculator. 4 times 13. 52. Thank you, Google. 52 feet squared. There we go. We've found the area of this box, this box, this box, this box. We're done. And no, we're not. we still need to find the area of this triangle. We know to find the area of a right triangle, the triangle has a right angle in it, or a 90-degree angle, that we have to do length times width, but we need to cut it in half. So when we find the area of a right triangle, we want to know the length. We don't want to know this one. We want to know the two sides that are connected to this right angle here, this one right here. Luckily, we found this one up here and it looks the same. So let's say this one's 5. We actually don't really need the 6. We want to know this one and this one, because if we made a rectangle over the rest of it, like this, made the exact same triangle on the other side, we would find the length times the width and then cut it in half. That's what this line is, cutting it in half. So 5 times 4 equals 20 feet squared, but it's half, remember. 20 would be this whole space, including the other triangle, but we want just the one triangle. So we have to cut it in half. Half of 20 equals 10 feet squared. So I'm going to take this out and write 10 feet squared inside. 10 feet squared. I'm really hoping you're following along if you're still at this point. I know this board's tiny, it's getting a little messy. So now our job is to take all the area from all the different parts of the tiny home and add them all together. So let's see, what can I do here? I think I'm going to do it all maybe on the other side. Yeah. So I'm taking every single area that I found, all the boxes, adding them together. So let's start with this one, 52 feet squared. 52 plus 10 feet. This one was 16. 12 feet and then 3 feet. Plus 12 plus 3. I need to add all of those together, and then that'll give me the area of the entire tiny home. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to line them all up. I'm going to go 52 plus 10 plus 16 plus 12 plus 3. All right. Now I'll start at the top. 2 plus 6 is 8. Plus 2 more is 10. Plus 3 is 13. Got to take the 10s to the bank there. Keep it for left over for later. Okay, now 5 plus 1 is 6. Plus 1 more is 7. Plus 1 more is 8. And then that one that was in the bank is 9. So our final answer for our area is 93 feet squared. 93 feet squared is our area of the whole tiny home inside, because the area is the inside space. Hopefully at the beginning you were able to go around and find the perimeter, like a fence going around the outside of the house. The next video that's going to be coming up, we're going to be finding something called the volume. And that is including the roof. So if we put a roof on these houses, right now we're just finding like the floor space. When we put a roof on and find the whole inside, if we filled up, let's say, the entire house with water from the very bottom to the ceiling, how much would that be? And we use something called cubed for this. In area, we use squared. When we do volume, we're going to use something called cubed. It's over here, sweetheart. Come here. Milo came to join for the last part. Anyway, there we go. So you were able to now find the area and perimeter of Thor's house, even though it had a triangle in it. Later.